All right. So the following is a simulated role play. Hi, my name is Brennan. I'm going to be working with you today. My pronouns are he, him. And yeah, thank you so much for coming in today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
We're doing all right. It's been a long day, but we're getting through.
Yeah.
Um, Before we start, so this is going to be an intake session, which is going to be a little different from the other sessions we'll do if you decide to continue working with me. So it's going to be me asking a lot of questions. If at any point you have any questions for me, please feel free to stop me and let me know. Does that sound good?
hmm
All righty. Before we dive too deep into it, I want to go over the consent form you signed, if that's okay, because there are a couple things um that I may have to share with others. So, all interactions with social work services, including like scheduling, attending, the content, that's all confidential. You can always request in writing that our staff releases information about anything about you to people you designate. The only exceptions are I have a superior that I work with, and if there's any situation where I feel like I may need to ask for advice, I may do so, but I will do my best to limit the information I share. If there's any evidence that there's clear and imminent danger um, of harm to either yourself or to others, I'm legally required to report that information to authorities. Um, and if at any point I learn of or I strongly suspect physical or sexual abuse or neglect of a person under 18 or an adult who is dependent, um, I have to report that information to Child Protection Services. Also, if a judge in a court order uh, subpoenas me, I might have to release some information contained in the records for the hearing, or I may have to testify. Does that all sound good?
hmm
All right. Also, throughout our session, I may be taking notes. You may hear me like typing on my keyboard. If at any point you want to like see any of that, you're more than welcome to. It's just me taking notes so that I can properly understand everything going on and that I can remember everything. Um, you also have the right to request that I make a copy of your file. Um, yeah. Finally, for third party or insurance companies, if they're paying for part of your bill, I'm normally required to give a diagnosis, um, your technical terms that describe the nature of your problems, and something about whether they are short term or long term. If I do use a diagnosis, I will discuss it with you, and all the diagnoses come from the DSM-5. I have a copy in my office, and I'm very happy to let you borrow it if you'd like. Um, yeah, are there any questions you have for me?
Nope.
All righty. So, like I said, my name's Brennan. I use he, him pronouns. Do you mind if I ask what pronouns you use?
Yeah, I use she, her pronouns.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me. And if it's okay with you, can I share that information with the rest of my staff so we can refer to you correctly?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Thank you. Um, let's see. And I see on your intake form that you've been having uh some some situation going on with your partner. Do you want to talk to me a little about that?
Yeah, so it's been like more recently, I guess, like things that have been happening are really like catching up. Like he's just not really been super supportive with me. Like I don't in his eyes, like I don't really have a good job. which means I can't really provide a lot for my son if it wasn't for him. Um, yeah, and like it has been difficult to pay for like stuff, but I always get it done. Like I never like not feed my kid, make sure he's taken care of. Like I'm always on top of that. It's just very difficult to do that, and like he's always said like it would be easier if like I never had my son in the first place. So yeah, it's just all that.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that with me. I know that's probably not the easiest to talk about. Um, I know you said this started more recently. Do you have like a time estimate just so I can get a better idea of how long this has been going on?
Um, I would say maybe like 5 months ago was when it started. That's when like most of like I don't know, like once COVID got back to normal, everything happened. Like my job wasn't like always like paying me well, so I guess like during COVID, I was like using all my savings, and then after COVID, it's like trying to like get back to work, and everything's been difficult because they're very picky about like who they want to work each day. So
Got you. Um, what is your occupation?
my what?
What do you work as?
I'm at my local grocery store. I'm just a cashier there.
Got you. How long you been working there for?
I would say 2 years.
Do you like working there? What's it like?
Um, I do like working there just because, like my coworkers, like they're pretty like nice to talk to. Like there's no bad blood between any of us. We're just there to get our paychecks each day and go home. So I like it there. I guess it's just difficult because there's a lot of like workers, and they like the company, I guess you could say, is just very like cheap, and they don't want as many people working as they used to just because they lost a lot during the pandemic. So the scheduling is always like the biggest issue.
Got you. That can be stressful.
Yeah.
Have you felt like you haven't been able to get as consistent hours as you'd like?
Yeah, but I also feel like there's just not enough space for me to really advocate for more hours just because like I don't really have that many credentials. Like I just only graduated high school, so they probably see me as like really not that important to like work more. And they can always like hire new people for significantly less instead of keeping me who's been there for a few years.
Okay. So just so I understand properly, at work you feel like you're supported by your coworkers, but with like the higher ups, like the managers at the company, it's a lot more difficult because they, especially with the pandemic, are trying to limit who works and for how long.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, and I know you mentioned um your your partner as well as your son. So, can I ask where like what your living situation is like right now?
Yeah, so I live with my partner and my son. It's my partner's um, apartment that he had before we met. So I moved into his place after a year or so of being together.
Gotcha. How long have you guys been together for?
We've been together for about 5 years.
All right. And how was the transition into living together? Do you feel like that's going well or
Yeah, I mean, we've been living together for like about 3.5, 4 years now. So, we've gotten used to everything. Like it feels like a normal household. But he's usually the main provider because he has a stable like full-time job. Um, so I'm kind of just not meeting his expectations since we're living together and paying for everything in a mutual way.
Got you. Has and you said that switch has been about 5 months ago when he switched to not being as supportive.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like there was any trigger for that, or did it just
I'm not sure. I want to say like it's like coming back from the pandemic and like bouncing back, like he's been able to work throughout the entire pandemic, whereas like I couldn't really. So um he like realizes that like compared to him, I'm not really putting up my end like financially. Um so
got you? And that can be really difficult to navigate financials with a significant other. Have you tried having conversations with him about it?
yeah, but like every time I tell him like, I'm getting as many hours like as they give me and like I'm still providing for my son. Um like he still doesn't think like I'm very capable. Like he just always tells me like it's like you should have never had a kid at your age. Like that was like the biggest mistake you've ever made and like how it's like I'm just not worth that much to him anymore.
Got you. I'm really sorry that you're having to go through that.
It's okay.
Um, can we talk about your son for a second?
Mm-hmm.
So his name's William, right?
Yes.
And how old is he?
He is currently, let me see, he's 6.
6 years old?
Yes.
That's a great age. So is he in school?
Yeah, he is currently in kindergarten.
Got you. How's kindergarten been for him?
He loves it. He has a lot of friends there. He only does the morning sessions because, like, the school that he's at, kindergarten, you can either do morning or afternoon sessions. So he does the morning just because it works better. Because I work in the morning and then I'm off in the afternoon. So, like, we get to spend more time together and everything. But yeah, no complaints with
Got you.
teachers
Has
here.
so your relationship with William's been pretty good?
Hmm.
Got you. Do you feel like he's been able to support you during these issues with James?
Yeah, he obviously he's a little too young to like understand what's going on, but whenever he's home, like I do my best to just like keep everything normal and like neutral just because I don't like the idea of him seeing us argue or anything like that. But overall, like we're always doing stuff together. Like he's always with me when he's at home, but I also like try to get him to do like school activities like after school, like any programs they have there. So
Got you. Um, do you mind if I ask what the relationship is like between James and William?
yeah, so they James has no problem with him whatsoever. Like he clearly like shares his thoughts with me about how I shouldn't have had a son at a young age, but like to William himself, like he's a really good father figure. Um, that's like one of the one things that's like keeping me from leaving just because I want William to have a really good father figure. Um, like I had, and I don't like the idea of him growing up without one. So, um, yeah.
Got you. That is a good protective factor to have that they have a good relationship.
Mhm.
Um, let me see. So outside of work in the home, uh, tell me a little about your social network, like who you interact with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to, I guess like I said at work, like I do have a few friends, but um they're not really people I would like go out and hang out with outside of work. My family, like they all live in the Chicago area, so I don't really see him as much. My dad is like one of my best friends, but he's currently sick, so I don't really get to spend time with him, or if it is like it's not really a positive experience just because of how sick he is. Excuse me. And then my I have other siblings, but like it really depends. Like my brother, like I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's a typical brother relationship, so like we support each other, but we also like have a lot of space from each other, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Have you felt like you've been able to reach out to any of these support systems about what's going on at home?
Um, kind of like I do have a sister, but I don't know. It's not really something I like to talk about with them just because like they're all pretty well off. My two brothers, and my sister, like stay they all stayed near my father, so um they did get like a college education and like they have like a stable life, and a stable job and everything like that. So I don't like the idea of sharing that like I'm having these issues because I don't know, I just am terrified that they're gonna agree like maybe you should have a better job or like find other ways to provide for your son. So
Yeah, I understand that. That's hard to have that comparison with your siblings, especially.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that all with me. Um, let me check here. Uh, so for education, um, do you mind talking to me a little about bit about that?
Yeah, so I just got my high school diploma. Um that's hold on. Um yeah, I didn't really do more just because I don't know. I just didn't really see the point in it, and I also met like my future partner, so yeah.
Gotcha. Um, let's see here. Let's talk about. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Um, let's talk about physical health a little bit. So, since things started between you and James, how have you been feeling physically?
Um I mean, I feel fine, but I guess like hearing what he says about me, like I kind of lost my appetite, and like I've been so nervous and like I don't really sleep much. Just because like I don't want him leaving, because of my son and like the relationship they have. So like yeah, and then I've just been more tired because like I'm trying to do extra hours and everything.
Got you. So, if you had to give me an estimate, how many hours a night do you think you're able to sleep?
Um, I would say maybe 5.
Okay. And for the loss of appetite, does that feel pretty consistent or does it come in waves? When does it really show itself?
Um, it really only happens like from what I've noticed is like it only happens when I get into an argument with James. So, um, yeah, like just all the words said to me just like really don't make me feel good about myself.
Absolutely. Having those criticisms about how hard you're working is it's hard to experience.
Mhm.
How often do you think if you had to estimate, how often do you think these conversations and arguments happen?
I guess they've been becoming more common now. I'd say maybe like 3 times a week.
About 3 times a week? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a relationship with James's family at all?
Um, yeah, I mean we all get along pretty well. It could also like possibly be like his mother says something about how I'm not being the proper like partner. She's more traditional, so she like thinks like it should be a mutual effort financially and everything. So she really just looks at me as like a disappointment to her son, and that he could like do better. But like overall, like his siblings and like his dad, like I'm very close with.
Gotcha. So when those comments from James's mother happen, are you in the room when they happen?
No, it's usually like when we get in an argument, he always has to bring up his mom and like what she thinks is best for him, and like reminds me like of what she says.
Gotcha. Um, that's hard. If so, now that I have a better idea of how often these conversations happen and what home looks like, do you mind walking me through what a daily schedule looks like for you?
Yeah, so I guess like if I'm working that day, I wake up, I make breakfast for William, I get him ready for school. I drop him off early, just because he starts school the same time I start work. So I try to get him in. There's like this program before class that he can have, where they watch him before classes start for like an hour or so, so that I have time to like get to work and everything. So then, yeah, I get to work. I'm there from like 9 to like 12-ish maybe, and then William gets out at 12:30, so I race over to go pick him up. Then we go home, I feed him lunch. Yeah, and then basically like if he has any like homework or any activities he has to do, I do that with him. James comes home at like 6 if he gets off at 5-ish. I cook dinner. Maybe we'll watch like a TV show or like a movie or something. And then I get William to bed before I go to bed. So
Gotcha. I know you said that William's been doing pretty good with school and he's been fitting in socially. Has the same been for the before school program?
um yeah, so he that's where he met most of his friends before his first day of class. He had that extra hour to really get to know like students in like other grades as well. So he has the opportunity to meet um, students that are older than him, and he kind of looks up to them, which is like really adorable in my opinion. But um, yeah, it gives him like a really nice opportunity to like meet other students, and get warmed up to like socialize in class.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I'm very, very happy to hear that. Um, so for yourself, um, what would you say is are some of your most important strengths?
Um, that's a hard question. I guess like I do have some resilience. I went through a lot as a kid, and then having my son at a young age was like a lot. So um, I'd like to say that where I was like as a kid and where I was like a couple years ago is not who I am now. Um, and then like hearing my partner tell me all these things about me and my son, like um, I just keep going no matter what. So um, yeah.
Absolutely. And if it means anything, I'd like to add that I agree with the resilience factor.
Thank you.
You you go through a lot and you seem like a very hard worker. Um, so when was or let me find a better way to word this. What was it that made you want to come in today? Because as you said, this has been happening for 5 months. So was there anything that like was a changing point that made you decide that you want to come in for help?
Yeah, I guess like the words he's been saying to me, like they're finally catching up to me. Um, and as much as I want to like continue like the way I'm living now, I don't know if like my mental health is worth the sacrifice. Just because I don't want to go down the same road I was down before. Um, and I just want to find ways like, because I do think like I want to keep this relationship, but like I know there's more things I could be doing to prevent him from like saying these things to me. So just finding ways I can improve um, like my relationship and stuff.
Gotcha. Do you mind going a little more into detail about I know you said that there are some things you could be doing. Do you have any idea what those things could be?
Yeah, like he always tells me like obviously my job is an issue, like working part-time and not really having many hours. Um, and so I do think like finding a better paying job with my limited education um, is something I should consider. I think the financial part is like the biggest issue with us. Because like he wants me to like if I didn't live with him, I don't know where I would be right now and like how I'd be able to provide for my son. So um, yeah.
Okay. So is your job something you're uh willing to change in order to make things better?
Yeah, I'd like to work full time somewhere. Just because William will be going to first grade soon and that's a full day for him. So I'd have more time to work instead of being at home with him and not having to pay for daycare or anything like that. So finding a full time job that is a lot better than where I'm at is very important.
Gotcha. Do you have any positions in mind that you would like to do?
No, I guess like I'm kind of just whatever sounds right, I guess. Like I'm not really like there's nothing in particular like I have an interest in. So yeah.
Gotcha. And that's totally okay. Um, so let's talk about uh, your goal for therapy. Is there an overall goal that you'd like to reach um in our work together?
Um yeah, I guess like feeling ways like I don't know how to say it, like feeling better about who I am, and fixing things that could make me a better mother and a better partner. So um like I mentioned, like the financial part is like probably my top priority is like figuring out how I can be able to provide more for my family.
Gotcha. So during our sessions, would like the process of finding other employment be something you'd want to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And just to clarify as well, the conversations that you've been having with James, are those conversations that you'd like to be able to process here in therapy together?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I wanna be better for him just because, we had a really good like few years together before all these issues arise. So I just want it to be better for him. And like I understand that like I'm not doing the best that I can for him and my son. So
Okay, absolutely. Um, and before we wrap things up, there are a couple of questions I'd like to ask just about more of a medical background, if that's okay with you.
mhm.
All right. Has there been any history of trauma, abuse, violence, traumatic losses in your life?
um yeah, so as a kid, my mother did physically abuse me and my siblings. And she left when we were still kids, so it was for like a few years, but yeah.
Gotcha. Do you have any connection with your mother still?
No, we haven't tried to contact her or anything.
Gotcha. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I know traumatic experiences like that are hard to talk about at times. Um, do you have any history of mental health issues in the family or personally?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I would say I was like 15. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Um, but I have like I've been treated and everything. But then once I gave birth, they did diagnose me with postpartum depression. So yeah.
Gotcha. Have you been receiving any other mental health services for the postpartum depression?
I did in the past, but they saw that I was doing like I was pretty stable, so we discontinued that.
Do you still feel like the general anxiety and the postpartum depression are stable?
Yeah, I guess like sometimes maybe the anxiety comes back, like whenever I get into the arguments with James, but like other than that, everything's pretty good.
How do you help bring that anxiety down when that comes around?
Usually I just take a minute away from everything just to process what was said. If I can, I like to go on a walk, but it's cold out. I don't like going outside in the cold. Um, but yeah, just anything that will get me off my mind is fine with me.
Gotcha. Do you have any history of substance use, either personally or in family history?
No.
Okay. Have you been on any medical treatments for the anxiety or the depression?
Yeah, so they did give me medications for like the anxiety when I was in high school. Um, and then I stopped taking them once my symptoms subsided and everything like that. And then postpartum, I believe they gave me antidepressants, but it was not really working. So they stopped within a few months.
Gotcha. And when you went off those medications, was there any difficulty stopping?
No.
Okay. Um, and let's see here. Have you trying to find the proper form? have you had any thoughts about taking your own life, committing suicide, or going to bed and wish that you didn't wake up?
No.
Okay. Have you um felt yourself creating any plan if those feelings were to come up?
Um, like if I found like a way to subside them.
Let me rephrase, sorry.
No, you're good.
Um, have you had any plan to commit suicide if those feelings came about?
No, no.
Okay. Um, let's see. Have you any had any feelings of like despair, hopelessness?
I mean, sometimes like in the arguments, like I do feel like hopeless, but then like pretty quickly, like I just get back into like I'm doing this for my son and everything. So
Gotcha. Is there anything you do to help those subside? Is it thoughts of your son?
yeah, I mean, just like spending time with my son really helps.
Gotcha. Um, well, all right. I think with that, we are coming to the end of our session. I just want to take a second and check in and see how you're feeling.
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Gotcha. I really appreciate everything you've shared with me today. I know that was a lot to open up about, and that a lot of it was very personal. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then and if you'd like to continue sessions with me, the next time I plan on seeing you is November 7th.
Awesome.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thank you.